In this video we are going to talk about GitHub and Git coverage. Now for Git we will go to Selenium in Java on being 0.in and we will go to GitHub quick introduction. Now let's first understand why Git is important and what is the use, why we should be using Git. Now take an example. Let's say I write code every day on my laptop and my project becomes bigger and bigger, and I have kind of few files which are more than 100 lines of code. So what starts happening is, every day since I'm modifying the files, then chances are that some of my modifications can destabilize our code that we have written 2-3 days back. Now it becomes very cumbersome to figure out what I have changed recently that have caused my code to break. For such scenarios, for handling such scenarios, what typically we do is, whenever we have written some code, we have stabilized it, ultimately we take a backup copy of that. Now like that, if we keep taking backup copies, so we will have a lot of folders in which we will be maintaining manually all these copies. Now these copies, I can say these are the versions of the source code that we are writing. Now rather than using the manual way of storing the versions, we can use GitHub. Now GitHub provides that facility automatically to us, which is the first reason of using GitHub. It provides version control. Second reason why we would want to use GitHub is, let's take a scenario where all of us are working on a common project where some test cases are automated by one person, some test cases by another person, or in some cases one module is owned by two people and they are contributing to the same files. Now in that case, we need a way to create a central test suite project so that everyone can start adding code there. So that is a scenario of parallel development where multiple developers are working in parallel and they have some dependencies on each other. So that's why we will need a central code repository kind of solution. And we will see in a short while with a practical example how GitHub solves that problem. Okay, so this is some brief history of GitHub. Then we talk about GitHub installation, configuration and usage. First and foremost, we should have an account on GitHub. In my case, I already have an account on GitHub. So I'll be logging into my account. So let's sign in, and we sign into my account being 0.in, and I'll enter my password. Okay, for the time's sake, I'll say remember my password. Okay, so this is my GitHub account. Now after we have created an account, then we download and install Git tools. Okay, another thing is, creating an account on GitHub is pretty straightforward. It's like creating any other account on Gmail or Hotmail. So it's pretty straightforward. So I hope people will be able to follow that on their own. Next, we have to install Git tools. So let's click this link. We go to Git site and we are downloading the code, downloading the Git tools. Now reason we are downloading them is, tomorrow what we would want to do is, GitHub is an online project repository. So my code, I will create a project online, but I want to have a copy of that locally on my laptop. Now frequently we need to sync the online code with our local code repository. Now in order to do that, we need some Git tools using which it becomes very easy for us to say, give me the latest code that is there on github.com. I want to have that on my laptop. Or the vice versa, if we have written some new code, we may want to say to Git that this code I want to put online. So both these scenarios we will see. First scenario where we take the code from online to laptop, that is called a pull. When we put our code onto online, that is called a push. So we are going to see all those commands. Now Git tools are downloaded, so we'll go there. And here also we will follow the installation instructions and we'll keep on going with all the defaults. So let's go up. Okay, so installer has started. So I'll simply keep on pressing next. No changes at all required anywhere. And let's wait for the installation to complete. Now while installation is going on, let's look at some more terminologies which will be required. So once we download the Git tools, we'll run 3 set of commands to configure Git so that it can be used by us. Next, we try to understand GitHub repository. GitHub repository is a concept in Git. It is like if I have a project online, that is called a GitHub repository. So what we are going to do is we are going to have a repository where we will be putting all our code. So I'm going to create a repository, Selenium December 2015. Okay, so that's our repository. If we want to put any description we can, but it's optional, so we leave it as it is. Then we'll go with the public repository, because public repository is something which anyone can see, but it is free. If we go with private repository, we have to pay some amount here. Now as a best practice, what I'm going to follow is I'm always going to initialize a readme file, and we'll add a git ignore file. I'll cover little late what this git ignore means. So in git ignore we say we are writing Java code. So this is typically we'll put what language we are using to write code, and license we can leave blank. We are not adding a license. So that's how we create a repository. We just give a repository name, we go with the public repository, initialize with the readme, select the language, and we say create repository. Now when the repository is created, this is kind of place where all our source code will be available online. You can assume this is like a Gmail where all our mails we can access by logging into Gmail. Same way we can log in here and we can access all our source code. Now Gmail can be configured offline also. Typically we can have an Outlook configured so that all our mails are coming into Outlook and they are staying on our laptop. Same way Git also has the tools which will allow us to get this source code onto the laptop. That's the reason we were installing this Git tools, and installation has completed. We uncheck this and we say finish. Now once the Git is installed, what we need to do is we need to configure Git. So we need to run few set of commands. Now these commands will run in Git's own command prompt. So Git brings its own command prompt. So let's hit the window key and let me type Git, and when we do that we will see there are three options we get: Git GUI, Git Bash. Okay, this is just installer. So what I'll do is I'll go with the Git Bash. Now Git Bash opens a command prompt over here. Let me increase the font size a little bit. Okay, that's not possible here. Options, text, and yeah, we can increase the font size to 14. Yeah, that will look better. Okay, so this is the Git Bash in which we can run our commands. So first I can do cd or I can do pwd. It will show you present working directory. So I am in C drive user Sandy. I can do a cd, I can go to desktop. Now if I do pwd, I can see I am onto the desktop. So any commands that I am going to run now, it will be running on desktop, and mainly we are going to write everything onto desktop. Okay, so first command that we will be running is git config -global user.name, and we will supply our name. So I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to say my name is being 0. Okay, and global should be double minus, so that is one thing which is to keep in mind. Just a moment, there is some problem. Git config -global user.name, and that is being 0. So don't copy paste from here. Here I think two dashes have been merged into to form one big dash. So that's why we are seeing the error. Now we will say user.email. So I'm going to put my email, which is being 0 in.@gmail.com. Next we will run this command git config -global, that is credential dot helper, and we are saying win cred. So we are done with the configuration commands. So these are the configurations that we have to do, and this is one-time configuration that we have to do whenever we install Git. After that, things will be pretty straightforward and easy. Okay, so let me do a clear command here so that we can clear all the commands that we have run. Now next what we are going to do is we created a repository online, we are going to get a copy of that created locally. Now when we create a copy of a repository, now repository is a concept, is a term used for a project. Now whenever we create a copy of that, we are cloning the repository, and we'll see those are the terminologies we are going to use. After cloning is a one-time activity that we do. So let me go and clone it. For cloning we need this URL that is there. We can right click, okay, we can select it, and we can see this link gives copy to clipboard. I can click that link, come to Git Bash, and I can say git clone and paste the command here. Okay, so paste is not working. Let me go and see if we have copy paste, control shift insert. That's how it works. Okay, so I'll do control shift insert, and we get there. Now when we hit enter, what it is doing is it is saying I'm cloning the repository, and we can see on desktop there will be a folder created with the same repository name as there is online. If I go to this folder, I can see readme, I can see a git ignore file, and two files were there in our online repository, and that is what we see locally. Now after the cloning, next time what I need to do is, now I can add my own files into this project, because any development that I do, it will be done on my own laptop. So here I can go and I can add a file. Let me add a file, notepad, first file.txt, enter, and this is file created. This is my first file, and we save it and close it. Now what we have done is, in Git we have created one more file, and this file is there on my laptop locally. I want this file to go online into this project, because let's consider that's the code file that I have written today. So for that there are three sequence of steps we will be doing, and there are commands given over here. First we will do git add. That is our way of saying to Git that this is a file I want you to track, this is my important source file. Second thing we will do is we'll say git commit. Commit means we are telling Git that whatever changes we had to do, we are done with them, and this file at this stage looks nice, and you should remember this is one of my stable version of the code that I have written. So that is commit. And last thing we do is git push. That means we are saying our changes should be pushed online. They should go from my laptop to online. So these three things is something that we'll be very frequently doing. So let's follow that sequence of steps. And before following that sequence, we can also see git status. Now git status is, we are asking Git, is Git aware of whatever new updations or changes we have done in this folder. So I'll start with git status. Let's say git status. Okay, sorry, here git status will not work because right now we are on desktop. So we have to go to a folder which is a Git repository folder. So I'll do cd selenium, and I can hit tab, and it will take us to that folder. Now when we go there, I'll run git status, enter, and it says your branch is up to date with origin master, nothing to commit. So because the file we created was outside this, at that time I was on desktop, so what I'll do is I'll create that file again, notepad, first file.txt, enter, my first file, and we save it. Now if we do git status, Git would know there is a file that we have created here, that's why it is showing red. And you see Git is giving us guidance that you have an untracked file. A file is there in this folder which Git is not aware about, because we have not told Git to track it. So we should explicitly tell Git that you should track this file. So here it says use git add. So what we will do is we'll add this file, we'll say git add -a. Now -a, capital A, means we are asking Git to add all the files that are there in this folder that are newly created. Now once we do that, if we do git status, we'll see that file becomes green. Now Git says, okay, I know you have added a file, but whenever you are done with your changes, you have to tell Git that I am done with my changes. Can you remember this particular version? So next command to run is git commit minus m, and this is my first commit. So this way what we have done is our changes have been published locally. My laptop's Git knows that I have checked in second version first version of this file. Now we have to send these changes online, so we'll say git push minus u origin master, and now it asks for my Git username and password because I'm pushing the changes online. So I'll say being 0, I think I have given my username as wrong. My username is being 0 in, so it gave authentication failed error, so I'll try again. Now hopefully things will go up, and we can see it has sent the data online. Now if we go and refresh the project here, we will see the 2 commits have happened. If I click there, I can see my first commit has come, and it shows that you have just added first file.txt where you added this line. So that is our first commit that we have done. Now we will try to change the same file. So let me open the same file, notepad, first file, and here, wait, 2 times I have typed notepad first file.txt, and rather than writing my first file, I'll write my second file. Or let's leave my first file here, we say my second file as new line. Now we save it. Again, after saving, just remember we have to follow 3 set of commands: git add minus a, git commit minus m, second commit, any message that we want to give we can put here, and then we say git push minus u origin master. That's all. These 3 set of commands we have to run, and this time you notice it did not ask me for password again. Reason it doesn't ask password is because at the time of configuration we gave this command. It means that whenever first time we are running, it will ask for credentials, and after that it will remember our credentials. So now we know anytime we have to make a commit, we can do like this. If I go online and I refresh my project, let's go back here, we refresh, it will show the 3rd commit has come, and the description of that I had put was second commit. We go inside that, now you see it shows you have deleted first line and then you have added next 2 lines. So red line means we have deleted something, green line means we have added something. So now we are all set and we can start using GitHub. Now one more concept that is remaining is of git ignore file. Now git ignore is an important file in which sometimes it happens like in our directory we want to store some files. Let's take example of Java. So if I create my first Java file, so I can say notepad test.java. So I'm creating a file, I will say public class test, and here I'll write public static void main string args and system.out.println, and we say test Java. Now we have written this file. Let's say we compile the file. Now you see in this directory there is first file.txt, readme, and test.java. Now if I compile java c test.java, then what happens is, as a result of compilation, we get another file created which is test.class. Now this file is result of compilation, but since it is there in Git project folder, if I do git add minus a, this file will also be added and committed to Git. But we don't want to commit this file because this file is a byproduct. This is not the code that we have written. So if we want to avoid any file from being tracked by Git, then we put that file name or extension into the git ignore file. Now git ignore file has the list of file names or file kind of patterns, where if we do git add minus a, all the files that we have added in git ignore, they are not considered for addition. Now I'll show you git ignore that got created. Since we specified in the project creation time that we are creating a Java project, then by default git ignore file is added, and here it says .class file. What that means is, if we do git add -a, don't add .class files, because they are the compiled forms of our Java files. Now I'll show you. We'll do git status. You see, it recognizes only test.java file as the new file. Test.class file, it does not even surface as a flag that that file is also there, because that file name and path matches the list of git ignore. Now after doing git status, we can do git add -a, git commit -m, and some message, and we say added first Java file. If this was our first automated test case, we should have said we have automated our first test case, which is login test. Hit enter. Last command is git push -u origin master, and this will push the changes online. If I go and refresh the project again here, we will see it says being 0 in added first Java file. Commits have become 4. We go to 4th commit, it will show what we have added just now. Now these changes that I am making, if we are a team of multiple developers, then this will be seen by everyone. And if we want to have one project where a lot of people can contribute, can commit, then kind of we can go and add them to collaborators. So we can go to settings of the project, and we can go to collaborators here, and we can add the username of people here, so that people get access to this repository and they can also make commits here. So their code changes will also go here. Now if we are working in a multiple member team, so I will be making certain commits and push online, then you will also be making certain commits and you will be pushing the code online. Now the problem will happen is, if I am pushing something online, I should have the latest code in my laptop first, right? So first what we are going to do is, we are going to follow a best practice that before we do any push, before that we should be doing git pull. Git pull means we are asking Git to get any changes. If the online repository is more updated, more fresh, we want the changes first, and after that we will do our git push. So that is one thing that we will keep in mind. So if I have to summarize this, because there was too much of information in this session, then what you have to do is, first time you will be doing git add -a after adding any files, then git commit -m and a message, then git push -u origin master, and before doing any time push we will be doing a git pull. So this is a 4 series of commands that one should understand that what these ones are doing. Apart from this, other settings that we talked about, they were just the one-time setting. After once we have run those commands, we don't need to worry about running them again. And all these commands are also given here: git clone, git status, git add, git commit, git push, and git pull. And that's all we need. Also in this page there is an exercise left for people to try something, which is create a repository in your own github.com account and give that name, which is this. Ideally you can pick any name that you want to give, but I have given some placeholders here so that you can follow the instructions and do things pretty quickly. Okay, clone the repository, create a text file, then add, make commit, push the changes online. Now again open the readme.txt file, add a line to it, I love coding, again follow these steps to push these changes online. So this is an exercise that people can try. Well, that's where we wind up. This was an introduction to GitHub, and GitHub is something that we are going to use quite often as soon as we start with automation of our test cases. Okay, then that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. We'll be talking about more concepts.